All right, good morning and welcome to this beautiful Lake Tahoe Planning Commission meeting. It's a pleasure to be up here. If you would all please stand and join me in a salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, Sue.
If I could have a response from Mr. Cannon, please.
Here.
Mr. Herzog is absent. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Nader?
Yeah. Here.
Mr. Hauge?
Here.
Mr. Sevison? Mr. Moss?
Here.
Thank you.
Morning, George.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Tahoe. Oh, I guess I shouldn't touch that. George Rosasco sitting in for E.J. Evaldi, who wasn't able to be here today. I don't have much for you. The next Planning Commission is December 12th. We will be taking up Brady Vineyards Estate Draft EIR and the Placer County Sustainability Plan. And then, just as a side note, on December 10th, the board will be hearing the Sunset Area Plan and the Placer Ranch Specific Plan. Other than that, I don't have anything unless anyone has any questions for me.
I think you're in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you.
The 12th in Auburn, I assume.
I'm sorry?
The 12th meeting is in Auburn?
The 12th meeting is in Auburn
Thank you.
because it will be snowy here.
You could be a snow bunny.
Now is time in our meeting for public comment. This would be comment on any items that are not on today's agenda. Is there anybody wishing to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that and move on to the consent agenda.
I think we have to split the.
I think we do because we had absences.
So we have to take A by itself, I believe, right?
I believe you're correct, yes.
And then I think we can take B and C together. So I move approval of item A on our consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, Sue.
Yep.
I have a motion from Mr. Nader, a second from Mr. Cannon, so a vote for Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
I think this is the one I have to abstain on,
Yeah,
14.
yeah.
Correct.
Not there, too?
The 14th. No, the 14th, I was there.
Okay, somebody
No, I
was
wasn't.
not
I
there.
wasn't there on the 14th.
Mr. Sevison was not there, and Mr. Johnson was not there on the 14th. So, vote for Mr. Nader, please.
Yes,
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
he can't vote.
Right. And Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Thank you.
I further move that.
Just a
we-
quick note from council, if we could see if there's any public comment with respect to items on the consent
Oh,
agenda.
is there anybody who would like an item pulled off of the consent agenda to be considered separately? Commissioners? Seeing none, we will continue. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Then I would move that we accept, approve items B and C on our consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Nader and a second from Mr. Cannon, so a vote for Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and we are right on time for our 10:05 item.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Moss and fellow planning commissioners. I'm Stacy Wydra, and I'm with the
Placer County Planning Services Division in our Tahoe City office. And the next item that is on your agenda is the Schaefer's Mill General Plan Amendment, Rezone, Major Subdivision Modification, Conditional Use Permit Modification, application number PLN 19-00114. And I am here today to request a continuance of this item to a date and time uncertain.
No.
We can go. So to a date and time uncertain. So that is our request for today.
Out of curiosity, what's,
The reason is we found an error in the public notice. So we need to renotice that so that it is correct.
Well, I thought that's what we came up here for.
There's another item.
This might be full. I guess we don't have much of a choice. If there's an error, there's an error. So I would move that we continue this to an open date in the future.
Second.
Just briefly, if we could request public comment on that continuance to a time and date uncertain prior to taking action on it.
Sorry.
That's okay, thanks.
Racing along.
We might as well.
I guess you need to ask that first.
okay, now, my understanding, council, the comments that we would be receiving today would be related not to the project specific, but to the discussion of the continuance.
That's correct. Non-substantive comments with respect to the item, but more with respect to the continuance at this time.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, Wally Auerbach, Auerbach Engineering, representing the applicant. Regarding the continuance to a date and time uncertain, we'd like that to be to a date and time as soon as possible. We understand the issue with the legal notice, but we need to move this item along quickly for a number of other reasons. So I just wanted to convey that to staff and the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Maureen, so sorry that you made this icy drive up here, but Ann Nichols, North Tahoe Preservation Alliance. As far as the continuance going, we thought it was really odd that the comments came out on Thanksgiving. You know, the packet from the county, we objected to that. We thought that was kind of unfair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing that, we'll close the public comment portion and bring it back to the commissioners for action.
Okay. Just to respond to your comment about doing it as soon as possible, I know we have a really jammed schedule for the next few months, so it may be a challenge. And I know we want to do it up here, so that throws another twist into the process of trying to find a time for that. So I'm sure they'll try to expedite as best they can, but I wouldn't be too overly optimistic that it's right away. So I would go ahead with the motion that I made earlier, that we continue this item to, to an open date in the future.
Second.
Roll call, please, Sue.
I have a first from Mr. Nader, a second from Mr. Sevison, so a vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other meetings up here in the near future?
No, but there's an option to have video feed from here and have it in Auburn. There is that option.
Okay.
Well,
We'll do it as soon as we can. We'll get you everything back as soon as we can.
Okay.
thank you. Our next item is not timed until 10:20, so it's time for a 10-minute break.
Question, should we keep this material or will there be new material sent out next time? Or do we know?
There'll probably just be a supplemental staff report to that staff report, so I would ask that you do keep and hold on to that staff report.
Okay. Fill up my house with paper.
And if you lose it, we will get you another copy.
Oh, that's okay.
Right. For Brown Act purposes, when the item is back on the agenda, it will have all the corresponding information necessary to be compliant with the Brown Act at that time as well. But never hurts to have 2 copies, just in case.
I can paper my walls with it.
Well, stretch the legs. And that was brutal. We need a break.
It seems like she's got some guy as an adversary who's just a fucking jerk, what do you do with those people? Hey, we're having a conversation.
It just proves the point, you can't go to work without me. His wife's my boss.
All right, at this point, we will start with our 1020 item, the Rainbow Lodge bulk water sales conditional use permit.
Okay. Good morning, Chair Moss and fellow planning commissioners. Again, I'm Stacy with the Placer County Planning Services Division up in our Tahoe City office. And this item, I will be presenting to you the Rainbow Lodge bulk water sales conditional use permit. To quickly get you oriented as to where the project site is located, it is in the Soda Springs area and is directly accessed off of Hampshire. Oh, sorry, it's so tall. I didn't want to touch it. Is that good? Am I good? Okay, sorry. So location, it's located off of Hampshire's Rocks Road in the Soda Springs area, and it's located on a 62-acre project site. Uniquely, there are some existing single-family residences that are located within the general area. The Rainbow Lodge is also there, which is a historic Rainbow Lodge. And the Yuba River is along the northeast of the project site, and then open space and undisturbed lands are to the north, south, and west. The project site is designated by the general plan as low-density residential. However, there are multiple zoning districts that are located within the 62 acres of the project site. Specifically, the project area of which the bulk water sales are proposed is within the resort zoning, which is Resort DS. So we'll be focusing on that zoning district today. So to get you just a little bit of background, as I mentioned, the site is 62 acres, and it currently consists of the Rainbow Lodge, which is a historic lodge, associated on-site parking, accessory buildings, and it also consists of 4 existing water tanks and a pump house for the previous operations, which I will go into in a little bit. The Rainbow Springs is a source that's serviced by an underground pipe. The applicants and owners are required to get a permit issued by the State Department of Public Health to operate a water collection, conveyance, and storage facility for the water. And so the source of the potable water does provide service to the lodge and the Rainbow Mutual Water Company, which services the nearby residences that I referenced earlier. As I mentioned, the use of water sales and water collection, conveyance, and storage had been operating since the early 2000s. And then in 2005, the applicants came in and actually got a conditional use permit to operate it and have it recognized as a use permit through the county. However, the operations have since ceased, and they have not operated at least over the last 5 years. So therefore, that conditional use permit has expired, and that's why we're here today to essentially reinstate that conditional use permit. The existing conditions, as I mentioned, of the site, they do have 4 water tanks. I know this picture's hard to see. It was hard to get them all in one photograph, but they are these 4 stainless steel tanks. And then this is the existing pump house, which is located west of the lodge, right off of the parking area for the lodge. The applicants are here today requesting approval of the conditional use permit for the commercial collection, distribution, and sale of spring water. They are proposing to replace those 4 existing water tanks that I showed you previously with 2 new 22,500 gallon water tanks, and also construct a new 100 square foot pump house, which would be relocated approximately 80 feet to the west of the existing location of the pump house. In this site plan, this just outlines what I just talked about. Here's the proposed tanks in relation to where the 4 existing tanks are located. This is the existing pump house, and this is the proposed pump house. This is the infrastructure that would provide the water from the tanks to the pump house. As I mentioned, the zoning district is a resort design Sierra zoning district, so it has a combining district of design Sierra. And so if the applicants if they get approved, they will also have to apply for a design review application. And as such, the design of the tanks and the pump house will be reviewed by staff. However, just to get you an idea of what they are thinking, these are, again, the existing tanks, and they are proposing more of a rustic look and to side the water tanks with this material, just to give it a little bit more of an aesthetic look. Same with the pump house. Again, it's just to upgrade. This is the style of the pump house that they're proposing. However, it will be painted dark green to match the existing Rainbow Lodge. So the applicant proposes to construct and operate the water sales under the same conditions as the 2005 conditional use permit. And those consist of a total maximum of 67 gallons of water that may be extracted per day. However, that is limited in that they have an agreement with the Rainbow Mutual Water Company, and that they need to service them first. And so then the balance of the water remaining can service their conditional use permit for this bulk water sales. With regards to the trucks, the maximum speed of 15 miles per hour is conditioned. Idling cannot exceed more than 5 minutes, and headlights turned off as the trucks are filling. Truck operations are proposed to be now 7 days a week as opposed to 5 days a week, and I'll go into that in a little bit later. And then the hours of the truck operations, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. during daylight standard time, and then 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. during standard time. A maximum of 10 trucks per day can come by the site, and the employees and personnel of the lodge will be in communications and or essentially operate the water trucks. So they will ensure that there's no conflicts with trucks that are maybe scheduled to come, if they have an event going on or something like that. The truck circulation route is unique, and this was how it was approved in the original 2005 conditional use permit. They were restricted to basically just have a one-way access to the site. So they will come off of Highway 80, have to exit off of Rainbow Road, and then head down Old 40, heading west, and then fuel up. And my next slide, I'll be able to show you that. And then they have to depart, heading out to Cisco Grove, heading west, and then back out onto I-80. So there will be no traffic going back and forth on Hampshire Rocks Road of these trucks. This is the specific truck circulation route on site, And here's where the trucks would circulate in. The applicants do have a slide which shows the parking spaces so that it also demonstrates there's no conflicts with the parking spaces that are designated for the lodge. So a mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project, and as such, some impacts were identified. However, they were all mitigated to a less than significant measure or less than significant impact by the incorporation of mitigation measures. And these impacts that were identified consisted of biological resources, cultural, geology and soils, noise relative to construction hours and operating hours, and transportation and traffic impact fees. After the mitigating neg deck was released, the applicants realized that they needed to modify their project. Originally, the project had requested the operation of 5 days a week for trucks to come and fill up. And they asked if they could modify that to allow them 7 days a week. It was in order to give them a little bit of flexibility. And so we did an errata to that mitigated negative declaration, which is also contained in your packet. And so of that errata, the two things that changed to the mitigated neg deck was the project description to otherwise indicate 7 days a week as opposed to 5 days a week. And then also the mitigation measure for the noise operating hours was also updated. It's important to note that the noise study that was prepared for the mitigated neg deck was also updated for the errata to ensure that there were no impacts from 5 days to 7 days. The project did go before the Donner Summit MAC twice, once as a discussion item to receive feedback, and then once again for an action. And the Donner Summit MAC did recommend approval with the following conditions. They recommended that the pump house remain in its existing location. They wanted to ensure that truck idling did not exceed 5 minutes, and that the hours of operation would be restricted from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday throughout the year, regardless of the daylight savings. Staff reviewed the comments received, as there were some public comments that were received, and they're also part of your part of your packet. And staff continues to support the applicant's proposal, even with the updated to 7 days a week. And the reasons for that is that the applicants are essentially operating the same as they did in 2005. The 2005 allowed 7 days a week, but uniquely, it did not specify hours of operation. So that was kind of a new thing. So we turned to the noise study to really get a gauge as to would there be any noise impacts, or does the operations comply with the noise ordinance or noise element, of which they do. And so again, staff is supporting this project based on the fact that the project does adhere to the noise study recommendations, which the hours of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and 7 to 8 p.m. And it continues to comply with the general plan noise element. With regards to the pump house, the applicants are proposing to relocate it approximately 80 feet to the east. So this is the original location. This is the proposed. The proposed location would be 270 feet to the closest residence, which is located approximately here. And again, the updated noise study also further studied the location of the pump house moved 80 feet over, and concluded that there would be no significant noise impacts, and nor would it exceed the allowances of the noise element. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the mitigated negative declaration and errata prepared for the project, subject to the findings contained in the staff report, and also approve the conditional use permit for the Rainbow Lodge bulk water sales based on the findings contained within the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. However, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Stacy, since noise seemed to be the big issue, can you describe to me exactly what kind of noise obviously the trucks are going to be accessing and departing the site, which there's going to be some noise involved with that. Mm-hmm. But is there noise related to the pumping of the water that you can hear?
Yes, and I believe the noise consultant is here today, and he can give you more of the technical details of it. However, there is a pump, and actually, I also believe that the applicants have some of the pump details in their presentation that they can provide you. But there is a pump located in this pump house with some venting that's required for that equipment. However, it was concluded that it was very minimal noise generated out from the pump house itself.
Maybe they can address that, but if the new pump house is going to be insulated, maybe it might buffer some of that sound as well, so maybe they can address that.
Correct. So I can turn it over to them unless.
I have another question. Weekends, 6 a.m., you can have trucks running through a resort area. Could you explain why the staff felt that that was appropriate?
Well, so one, the noise element allows those types of operations 7 days a week. Also, with the original 2005 conditional use permit, we went back and looked to see if there were any complaints received or any evidence that we could use that could help support us limiting them to 5 days a week, and we were unable to find any. So, and it was our understanding too that 7 days a week allows the applicant and owner a little bit more flexibility because they're working with outside water retailers and just also being uniquely kind of in the middle of 80 storm days. They would hate for a truck to not make it there Friday and then have to wait till Monday, but could go Saturday. So just some scenarios that were discussed and helped support staff's recommendation of supporting the 7 days a week.
Okay. And obviously some people wanted to retain the pump station in its existing location. Why?
Part of what we heard at the Donner Summit MAC was the owner was afraid that there would be noise impacts associated with his house. And just moving the pump house over and the trucks, and that basically noise.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess the reason for the moving it was, and again, they could probably address this, was I think it stated was just to get a better flow for the trucks coming into the parking lot and exiting out was the reasoning behind moving it.
Correct. And like I said, they do have a slide that also shows that circulation pattern. We were just trying not to be so redundant with our slides. So I can.
Pardon me, and perhaps that you can deflect this or defer it rather to the applicant. But if I missed it, my apologies. But the retail sales, where are the primary distributions heading as far as the trucks go?
Well, that is being set up by the applicants. Again, they are working out, trying to form contracts with folks who will come and bottle the water, but they could probably expand on that.
All right, thank you very much.
I have a question. The original, thank you. The original use permit was for 5 days a week?
No, 7 days a
The
week.
original was for 7, okay. Now, the pump house itself, that's pumping from the spring to the tanks, or is it pumping, that's what's being utilized to fill the trucks?
That is what's being utilized to fill the trucks.
And it's an electric pump, or?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Okay. May I
I think
turn
with that, we'll invite the applicant up if you'd like to.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know this isn't quite as exciting as a 8 million square foot potential development and 5,500 units of housing, but it's really important to us, and thank you. So my name is Nick Faber. I'm the head of operations for Rainbow Lodge. I've been there for about 2.5 years in a lesser capacity before that. So we're here today because water sales really helps with the sustainability of the lodge and overall balancing out our finances, because we're kind of in a middle area and we're trying to walk before we run, and we would love to be fully open to the public, which I know is another comment we received. But again, thinking about how we can balance out our budget and be a more sustainable endeavor, which, to be honest, we're not right now. So this is really important to us. Couple other things that were brought up that I'd like to address. With regards to the pump house relocation, we had multiple civil engineers, a noise consultant, et cetera, help us pick that location, and Stacy did a great job of answering why. One thing I'd like to add is there's not going to be any backup sirens with this new location, and with the old location there would be, and that's by far going to be the loudest noise producer, in my opinion. I defer to my noise consultant expert for more information there. Additionally, it'll help reduce idling. With regards to the hours of operations, we're actually asking less than what was previously approved in the prior CUP, which was, for all intents and purposes, 24/7. And I'd also like to say we are a hospitality endeavor, so our interests are aligned with the homeowners. We're not trying to have 10 trucks show up at 6 a.m. and be there till 8 and wake everyone up. That's not our intention at all. Our intention is to be flexible, like Stacy said, and while I'm talking with water producers right now, or water bottlers right now, and to your question earlier, it would probably be from Reno or Sacramento that they're coming from. I haven't been able to fully execute a contract yet, but working on it. So yeah, along with that, our operations, again, I can defer to Jim Brennan if you want to get more in details, and he's our noise expert. He's sitting behind me. Our overall operations are going to be less noise than the county standards. Additionally, the overall operations are going to be less than the ambient noise already in the surrounding area. I mean, you have Highway 80 pretty close. That's pretty loud. And we also made certain decisions, such as an electric pump to further reduce noise. Again, interests are aligned, and if we're going to do everything in our power to reduce noise as much as possible, in addition to trying to pre-schedule truck pickups, et cetera. So this operation works for everyone, and along with working for everyone. We believe this endeavor will also help the homeowners with regards to, improving 30-plus-year-old equipment up there. It'll help potentially Royal Gorge. If we have excess water, that was a comment that came up. If we would help, give them a tank or two of water, sure, happy to. We produce more water than, so our max that we could sell per the prior CEP was 67,000 gallons, totally fine with us. We produce somewhere north of 120,000 gallons a day. The homeowners use 15,000. Rainbow probably uses 10,000. So there's plenty of water to go around. And along with that, this creates an additional point for the fire department to hook up to if there's ever an issue up there. And we're happy to do that. We're happy to allow them access. So we are thinking about this holistically as a member of the community. And happy to answer any further questions you may have.
I ask about the noise that would come from the pump house, and if you're going to use an electric pump, it's probably pretty quiet, but are you going to insulate it to even hold back any potential sounds even more?
So the short answer is, we're going to insulate it. Admittedly, it was probably more due to but we're certainly looking into that and planning to do that.
Any other questions?
Freezing for sound.
See, I'm assuming, but I guess all the improvements to the piping and the tanks and the pump house are all on the Rainbow property?
Correct. 100% of it.
Okay.
And I have one question, if I may.
Now, can you hear me?
I assume, and if it's, my apologies if I've missed it in here somewhere, that any of the bottling will be off-site somewhere else or another vendor partnership kind of a thing?
Yeah, we have no intention of doing any bottling ourselves. That hasn't ever been part of our business plan, and we just aren't experts in that, nor do I want to become an expert in that. And it's also just more efficient for someone else to use our water for their purposes. So yeah, that's our intention. It would be likely someone based on our location out of Sacramento seems to be where a lot of people are coming from, but you know, there's a few in Reno that have also sniffed around a little bit.
And thank you, and I'll relay that the applicant has been a long time good steward in the neighborhood and in the county, and the fact that you were allowing for mutual aid use for the fire agencies, the different agencies that could, you know, we have to realize that with the era of the imminent fire dangers that we have, that's something that we need to look at. So thank you for being mindful of that and for your very neighborly attitude and approach.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No problem.
All right, Commissioners, then we'll thank you and
Yeah,
open
thank
it
you.
up to anybody from public for a comment.
No public?
Going once, going twice, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the hearing and bring it back to the commissioners for discussion or a motion.
I have one question.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. From Stacy. I'm having kind of a deja vu. You know, 2005, I wasn't here, but I remember hearing this sometime, 2007, 2008 or sometime. So what was that all about?
Yeah, it did not get approved until 2008. It's just that the number is a 2005 conditional use permit, and from what I can gather, there's limited, information except for just the staff report and the conditional use permit. And I'm not sure if Nick knows, but more of the history. But I can't really tell if there was controversy or. I'm not really sure why it took 3 years to get to the approval.
Yeah, well, I remember there was a little bit of controversy, but it had to do with competition with the water, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in fact, I think one of the prior owners sat on this commission. Harry was, but I don't think he had the water concession. He just ran the business, I think.
Just to kind of put it in perspective, I think we all appreciate Rainbow Lodge as a historical site up here. It's obviously been here for a very long time, and it's struggled for decades because of just now, unfortunately, its location. And if this can help it sustain and hopefully become financially viable, then I think that's really important to the community, in addition to the things that it's offering to the community. And this is definitely an upgrade for not just the lodge itself, but for the community. And I think there's a huge benefit in that. And I would certainly be supportive of going ahead and making a motion in this. Do we want to have further discussion?
You want a motion?
Looks like we have one.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it, or you want to do it, Larry?
I'll make the motion.
Well,
We
somebody.
got a lot of people want to do it, okay?
That's not all Pike for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Adopt the mitigated negative declaration of the errata prepared for the Rainbow Lodge bulk water sales project as set forth in attachment D and E and supported by the following findings. Can I just describe those findings, or do you want them read into the record?
You can state supported by the findings in the staff report.
Just refer to the conditions as they're printed in the staff report.
Correct.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please, Sue.
I have a first from Mr. Sevison, a second from Mr. Nader. So vote from Mr. Cannon, please.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Hauge.
Yes.
Mr. Sevison.
Yes.
Mr. Moss.
Yes.
Thank you.
Secondly, I'll approve the conditional
I
use.
have it all written out for you up there.
Well, this is the same thing, isn't it?
No? It's shorter.
Approve the conditional use permit for the Rainbow Lodge bulk water sales based on the findings contained within the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval
Second.
with conditions A, B, C, D, and E included.
Have a motion and a second.
I have a motion from Mr. Sevison, second from Mr. Nader, so a vote from Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes,
Thank you.
and with that,
This doesn't go to the board, does it?
oh, so this is an appealable item? Anybody wishing to appeal this item may do so within 10 calendar days by paying a fee of $629?
I think that's pretty close.
If you've provided written testimony or public comment and wish to appeal this, you may do so within 10 calendar days by paying a little over $600 and filing with the board. And with that, thank you all for coming out, your participation, and meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right.